All right.
Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise, glory, and honor that's due to Yahweh Bahashim Yahawashi Bahashim Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessing to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect. Shalom Barakatam. And I just want to speak a few words on the recent resurfacing of the former head of the Columbus camp out there, who was, one thing I caught in this video, and Lord willing, I can try to find it and repost it or replay it here. Was he said I was a secret Gnostic for years before he left. That's one of the big main things that stood out to me with what he said, and it's just a warning, to the body, man, that when you got leaven in you, you got to purge that out of you, man. Okay, when you're doing this work, it's real easy for the spirit to get a hold of you and turn up, but you really got to constantly be examining yourself. It's a constant self-maintenance that you got to be into when you're a part of this thing, man, because you'll deceive yourself and brothers around you will be deceived. This is why, camps, we have order, we have councils, we have house cleaning, and that should have been a major sign when they testified that you didn't really have that. You didn't really have councils going on. You had brothers showing up, however, brothers was being called by their government names, man. That's a red flag right there. And now you see why, we got the blueprint from the elders and apostles on down, and we stick to that script because, the spirit of the Lord was on them on how to move in this thing. What do you call it? Operational protocols, man. You can read back in the book of Acts where the apostles, they had councils and things and how to handle particular matters. You can read Matthew the 18th chapter. How do you handle offenses? There's things written on all of these things on how you manage the body. All right. Every member of the body has its purpose and its duty, but it's all managed through a central system. You have the brain, the head, it manages all of the things. The liver cells do different things than the lung cells, and the blood cells do different things, than the brain cells. All right, but it's all managed centrally, okay? And that's how we gotta move, so you don't have things like this happen. And when you see other things, moving or acting weird, you can immediately identify it, And unfortunately, in this case, the head was the problem, And so, other thing I would say is, man, be grateful that you have the truth and that the Lord didn't take it away from you. Okay, here you are in a camp thinking secretly that Satan is the Most High. Okay. Because he read the scriptures about the sprinkling blood. There's particular things in the scriptures. You first read it, you like, damn, I don't really understand that, or it sounds weird or whatever. But when you read and you eat and digest the whole roll, all right, and you let it sit, you get it. You ultimately get it overall. You understand things. Some things are off-putting on the surface level, but there's symbology along with it. Okay. And ultimately, when you read about the concept of blood and things of that nature, you see that it's related to the concept of life, okay? And that's why the Lord requires it when there's sin, because we read in the New Testament, what are the wages of sin? Sin is death, okay? So when you commit a sin, it's basically a forfeiture of life in some degree. So, small-minded people that get emotional, people that get caught in their feelings, they get caught up on things like that. They get caught up on things like Deuteronomy 22. He kept going on about happy is he that dashes the little ones against the stone, but the verse right before that tells you that was a payback, okay, for what the Amalekites did to us, man. But they don't see it that way. They just read particular things and they get emotional and they hold on to it, and it becomes leaven. And leaven becomes a big lump, and that lump becomes a problem to the body, But whatever you do, this thing is not going to be stopped, man. The elect already have the victory. You know, and so brothers, just be grateful that you have the truth, that you are able to endure through that, man. The Columbus brothers endured that, man, you know, and they're still more faithful than ever, you know. Shalom to those brothers, you know, because, you know, brothers had their own personal thing. I know one of the brothers there, you know, the brother Kunal Watt out there, man, had his own personal things that he's dealing with, and you got a camp head just being a demon, you know, uncircumspect, setting bad examples, you know. And we're gonna be tried, and we're gonna be tested before it's all said and done with, brother. So don't worry about it, man. Whatever we go through, it's to build us up. You know, the scriptures say, press toward the mark. All right, it's all to build us up, man. It's a test, a race of the endurance, not the swift, man. You just got to maintain in this thing, you know. And ultimately, the Lord is gonna see us through, man. We're gonna pass the hour of temptation. I believe that, man. The brothers that are sincere, you know, that are out there laboring, you know. So we just gotta keep the faith, man, and be on the lookout for bug outs and spies. All right, because spies are just a part of the ministry, man. You know, you can read about the men that came in to spy out our liberties, man. You know, there are men that crept in unawares. You know, some brothers believe he was a terror. I'm not really sure. You know, I found it. I'm kind of hard to believe a terror can stomach doing the work for that long. You know, but you know, well, who knows? All we know is he wasn't of the elect. You know, and if you're not of the elect, it really doesn't matter if you're an Israelite or not, because you're going to be destroyed, utterly destroyed, man. So count it all joy that the Lord, you know, have these situations come up, even though they're uncomfortable, even though, you know, you may even experience some pain or anguish dealing with particular things and you know, transgressions and offenses in the camp. You know, count it all joy, because the Lord knows us, man. He knew us before we were even born. So he knows the right medicine, the right combination, you know, of things to grow us, you know, because he knows what we're made of, man. You know, so you know, just keep those things in mind. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to say on that matter. Lord willing, this is edifying. Call Allah Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai. Bahashem Rachak Shalom. On to the next.